Welcome to the Men's Room Podcast, where real men come together to talk about life, fatherhood, marriage, friendship, and everything in between. I'm your host, Chad Henderson, and here we will dive into conversations that most men never get to have. Honest, sometimes raw, but always real. This space is brought to you by Chad Henderson Coaching, where I'm building something different. No big teams, no gimmicks, just real support, real learning, and real life coaching for men who want to show up as better husbands, fathers, and friends. So if you're ready to jump in and get real, let's do it. All right, I am with Eric Pleiss. Eric, how you been, man? I haven't seen you in so long.
Hey, Chad, it's been a long time, too long.
Haircut's looking good. You look fresh. We got the headphones set up right now. I'm ready to learn about the greatness that is Eric Rolf Pleiss.
Oh boy, yeah, the man, the myth.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me for my what is kind of like it's kind of like a spin-off. I don't know. I always wanted to do some episodes where I interview people who have done something that like a really big goal that they set their mind to. And when I think of people reaching insane goals, Eric, you're like the first person that comes to my mind, because when I first met you, you like were trying to run a mile. And then you got this idea in your head, and you ended up wanting to run 100 miles. So let's hear about that journey. If you can go back, like you were living up in Elk River at the time, and you were just like trying to find something to do in the evening. How did this start?
Yeah, I was, my wife and I had just moved to Minneapolis area. We were living with my uncle, looking for a place to stay, and he kept giving me a hard time because I'd go out in the morning and take a walk, have a coffee, just kind of enjoy walking. And he's like, you could run, you could go just as far, but but in half the time. And I was like, no, running's stupid. And he just kept bugging me about it. He's like, just run to the next telephone pole. Right. And pretty soon I was just running one telephone pole, and then 2 and 5 and 10. And I started running a mile. And I don't know, running was always just about something you do by yourself, a way to get a little bit of fitness, see the place around you, experience like all the streets in your neighborhood, right, or all the alleys or whatever, just exploring where you live. And at some point, after I had run a marathon, so like a mile, a telephone pole, whatever, it just kept going. Chad, I think we ran a 5K together.
Oh God.
Chase the bacon. You remember that thing?
Oh yeah.
There was bacon and Bloody Marys at the end.
The only reason you can get me to run 5K anymore is give me bacon at the end.
Oh, and it was terrible too. It was like the slimiest, wettest, wiggliest. Yeah. So I mean, I just kept at it, and it was probably 4 or 5 years into this running adventure that I'd run a marathon, and I thought the marathon was it. Like, if you're a person who's into running, and once you get to the marathon, then you just have to get faster. Otherwise, you get old or you die, or I don't know, right? Like, and I was getting tired of running by myself all the time, right? Because a marathon, that's a lot of running, 10, 12 miles on the weekends, 20, whatever. Yeah. So I started going to November Project, and I started hanging out with a bunch of fitness weirdos, hanging out in a park, running hills all winter long. And you just get sucked into fitness and other fitness related pursuits when you're hanging out with November Project. They attract interesting people, but someone ran a 50K. It was my friend Carly, and she had run a 50K. And when she said that, and I thought 50K, anything past a marathon, ultra races, I thought they were only for the most elite people, right? Regular people can't do ultra marathons. Regular people will just explode. I don't know. Yeah. And I'd never really even heard of it, right? The idea of running 30, 50, 100 miles was so foreign to me. And then Carly was like, oh yeah, I just did the 50K. She was out west somewhere. And I was like, wow, man, like just people that like running can just do that. And about a week later, I was like, I think I'm going to run 100 miles.
It sounds so ridiculous to even hear, to be honest with you. It sounds so ridiculous.
Like in the back of my head, like the idea of the marathon, that's it. You just get faster. And I hate running fast. Like,
Sure.
I'm not running because I'm trying to beat you. I'm just trying to hang out with myself, be outside. And so the idea of running trail races, running in the woods on the dirt away from the asphalt, like it was appealing. And immediately I was like, oh, there's something else that normal humans can do, right? You don't have to be an extreme athlete and you could just spend a lot of time doing it. And
Just keep going.
I thought this is such an absurd thing to do. Surely I can't do it. But wouldn't it be fun to find out where I break,
Yeah.
right? Like the marathon was hard, but like I could do it. I did another one, right? And I was
Yeah.
thinking, if I just keep on picking away, just push that goal a little bit farther, eventually I'll know what my limit is. Uh,
Yeah.
and so I was like, well, 100 miles. So I'm gonna do a trail marathon. And it was just easy. I was just like, I'm gonna trail marathon, then I'm gonna do a 50K, then I'm gonna do a 50 mile, then 100K, and then 100 miles. It's gonna be 5 years. I'm gonna just slowly build up to it. Like, I think my wife was probably just like, couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Running was always
Hoped
just
it
like
wasn't.
something I
Kind
did
of hoped it
occasionally.
wouldn't be true. Yeah.
Um, and it was just that. And it was like I made the goal. I wanted to see where I could break.
Yeah.
And I fully thought that I would.
Yeah.
Um, and it was just like, I think it was dumb luck that I broke it up in chunks and say, like, I know I can't run 100 miles tomorrow. So 5 years makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and I just broke it like 50K. Okay, the next challenge after a marathon is 50K. That's just like a marathon where you get lost and you got to do an extra loop or something, right? So you just, in your mind, it's just a little bit harder. I remember the first 50K I ran, the Chippewa 50K in Wisconsin. It's an out and back, the same single track trail. And the first 15 miles, 16 miles out to the turnaround, I felt great. Never
Yeah.
better. Then 10 miles on the way back, I was still feeling good. And then the last three was the first time, like, I've never run the last four. I've never run past 26. I don't know what's out here. And mentally, my brain just was like, oh, you can't do it. And like physically, then you shut down. And I was like struggling. And of course, I was tired, right? Nobody just runs 32 miles and feels great through the
Right.
woods. Um, but it just like mentally, when that happened. And so that was like a new thing, like, oh, how do you deal with mental stuff? Right. And so I was like, well, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to find people. So I just was like, then it's like, oh, I need to have a bigger circle of people I run with than just run by myself on the weekend. Right. So you
Yeah.
start run with a friend and then it's run with that friend. And I mean, Chad, you probably know, like by the time I was running 100-mile races, all of my friends were ultra runners because that was the only thing I had time to do. Because if you're logging 60 miles a week, it's just a lot of time outside and you start to get to know the same kind of people that are always out there, and
Yeah.
share some time together. And
What's 60 miles look like in a week? Are you talking like, is it 6 10 mile runs, or what are you dealing with? I assume there's a long run at the end of the week.
yeah, there's two. So I mean, that's the big upgrade in distance running is it's, usually a light day of recovery. So it's maybe like a heavy walk, like a fat brisk walk, just get out, stretch. There's going to be a day of hills, a day of speed work, probably a day of lifting and light running. And then the weekend is like at the peak, it's like run 20 miles on Saturday and then run 20 more on Sunday.
Yeah.
Get used to running on tired legs, get used to fueling. I mean, and all of that is part of that 5 year journey. I hired three different coaches to help me through training.
Yeah.
At the beginning, because you need different things, right? The first 50K is like, how do you actually fuel and keep your body healthy while you're running for 6 or 8 hours, right? Because it's
Yeah.
not just a 4 hour marathon where you can kind of eat and get through it. So you got to learn nutrition and then you got to learn the mental stuff. And like, so even though all this time, the goal is still chunking along, right? I did the 50K. I did the 50 mile. Chad, you were there for that 50 mile. And I think
Was that the
mentally
one at Zumbro?
yeah, that was in Zumbro down in southeast Minnesota. And it's three loops of 18, 17, 18 miles. to get to 50. And like, it's all mental, right? Like my first lap was great. It was fun. It was new. I was fresh. The second lap was terrible. I tried to quit after 2 laps, right? Because everything was awful. And then
And you
I
got to do the
started
same lap one more time.
it one more time. I started the third lap. You really kicked my butt to get out there and get moving. And that's what you need
You had
sometimes.
the like 10-mile race was getting ready to start, and I had seen the start of this. I mean, you're running on a horse trail, what looked like a gravel hill, just straight up hill, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like single file. I'm like, this dude's got to get back on the trail, or he's going to get murdered by
Yeah.
this 1,010-mile runners that were coming behind you.
Yeah. Well, and that it turned out to be great because I got out in front of them about 10, 15 minutes. And then over the years of running and training, you just know a lot of people. So at that point on, for the next 4 hours or so, every time someone would pass me, I probably knew them or knew a friend of theirs. So you had people to talk to. My mental energy was back. It was high. It was through the roof. And my third loop was like 90 minutes faster than my second loop, right?
Yeah.
On more
Much.
volume,
Yeah.
more tired, right? It's just, and that was like that race really opened my mind to like, you got to just prepare for something to go wrong. It's going to go wrong on race day. Something happens. It's hot. You missed something. You dropped the fuel, whatever.
Yeah.
And you just have to be able to know, okay, it's going to be bad right now. I'm probably going to be frustrated. I might slow down, but it's going to get better. You're going to come out of it. You're going to get a pizza roll. You're going to get an Oreo, whatever it is. You're going to, if it's hot, you're going to lay down in a river somewhere. Like
Yeah.
something is going to just change it.
Yeah, because
Um,
there's all these rest stops along the way. Like it's different at every race, right? But I think at that one you had one like maybe every five miles or
yeah. Zumbro was every like 5 miles. So a couple of them were shorter, 3, but yeah, you always see people, especially
yeah,
when
there's
it's
little
dark.
party stops. You can get some
Yep.
food and some water at least and kind of take off running again. Which in the middle of the night has like seeing those lights come up and the hearing the music play and smelling the bacon, like that's got to be just a great feeling to see that up in the distance.
Yeah, and again, night running is a whole different thing that you learn as part of this journey. That on day one, when I made that big dumb goal to run that far, like I didn't know you had to train and get used to running at night. You got to get used to just like eating and running, like all the unknown things that you just learn along the way, and you fail at them and you get better. And like, 5 years is a long way to go for a goal, but
Yeah.
I was never trying to get to 100 miles today, right? Like
Right.
it was always just the next thing or the next thing. And so like my first coach was a road running coach. My next coach was a triathlon coach, and so he had me doing a lot of cross training and building volume. He was an Ironman guy, so he knew what it took to be out there for 20 hours. And then my last coach, who I had ended up having for 5, 6, 7 years, Mike Borst, was a trail runner, right? That's what he does. That's what he knows. And he's a PT.
Yeah.
So, if you were having a weird injury or something was coming up, he, like, oh, here's some exercises to work on. Like he could help you mentally and physically and do all the mental load of training so that like as the athlete, you just show up and do the work.
Yeah.
Um, and when you start putting it in cycles, and at some point, right, you get really good at training plans. You get really good at just going out the door, and it takes care of itself. So it's not really like people always ask, how do you stay motivated? Man, it ain't motivation. You can't be motivated at 3:30 on Sunday morning when you got to wake up and run 20 miles.
Right.
Motivation doesn't exist at that
Right.
part of the morning, right? It's routine. It's knowing that putting in the work in ultra running especially is all about just being there, right? So you
Yeah.
can go and you can run slow and you can run fast, you can run backwards, right? If you're just out there doing it, that's getting you closer to that goal. And so it was always
Yeah.
just like, and again, remember, like it was about me wanting to find out when I could break,
Yeah.
right? And so when the work was hard, it was exciting, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've never run this far before, or I've never done it when it's this hot. I remember I got really in the weeds on hydration one summer, and my goal was I want to know exactly how much I sweat, right? So I'm weighing myself before a run. I'm weighing all the fluids I take with me. I'm weighing myself again after, right? In different temperatures, defining like sweat, like just weird stuff. But you just lean into the hard stuff. And some of that was like, okay, today I'm going to go out, I'm going to run for 2 hours with no fluids until I start feeling like that blackness, that dehydration creeping in,
Yeah.
and then eat and drink and see how fast you can recover, because it happens that fast if you're paying attention to yourself. And
Yeah.
when you're out running, that's, you get so inside of your head. Some of these 100-mile races can take 36 hours was my longest one. So it's a day and a half of being awake on your
No
feet, being
sleeping on your
exhausted.
feet. Yep.
So
It
you just
always
have to.
rains. It feels like if you've got a race that's going to be longer than I think even 5 or 6 hours, I feel like it's going to be a rainstorm, just guaranteed.
Yeah. So it's just always something. So you just learn to roll with that stuff and figure it out, and you know
Yeah.
everything's different. It was cool to do it. And again, it's just like, it's not motivation. It's just trying to find out about yourself,
Yeah.
and then having that be enough. And then, for me, you said at the top, like, what happens when you accomplish a big goal? Well, then you're like, well, what's next? Uh, and like, I really didn't think I would ever run 100 miles.
Yeah.
I thought it would for sure just be a fun experiment. And I've done, like, so my first 100-mile race was the Hennepin 100. It's a flat gravel race. So it's just long and flat around an old canal.
Just a
Um,
nice, easy 100 miles, right?
well,
Yeah. Just
yeah,
an
you think
easy 100.
if you're going to run 100, pick the easiest one, right?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
um,
But
and
boy, you didn't for the second one. The second
yeah,
one you picked was no flat trail.
the second one was Superior 100, up in the northern shore of Lake Superior, just 100 miles of rugged, relentless rocks and roots, and 36 hours of running through the darkness, in the rain, in the cold, whatever. Um, yeah, it's just knowing, like, there's exciting ways to push yourself and do things, and it's gonna suck afterwards. Like, recovery from these things is terrible.
Yeah.
But like, it's just fun to push yourself that hard. And I've started races and not finished them, and I think a lot of times it's physical and mental, but you're gonna have a great day and a half on some of these things just to finish, right? Like, it's just go, move, do, all the
Absolutely.
experience of every race, every people you meet along the way. I mean, Chad, you've been at a number of races with me. Um, it takes people, right? I'm truly in awe of the people that could run 100 miles all by themselves, because I don't know how it's possible. When
Yeah.
I run a race, I've got people supporting me from, the morning before, right, the day before, helping me plan my meals, get packed up. I don't have to run around, I have to do stuff. Like, it's 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 so weird, because 100 miles takes such a commitment that you put this team around yourself. You have to really think of yourself as an athlete, as a VIP person, right? And then build that support system,
Yeah.
right? There's people that help. Okay, this is when they come in from the aid station, they need this much water, or this is what they want to eat, whatever. Like, and I don't know how you could do it by yourself without unloading so much of that mental energy, um, on other people, and letting them help you get there. And man, does
Yeah.
it feel good, right? Like, because like you said, every 5 or 6 miles, 10 miles, your people are there, right?
Yeah.
So you're never that far from a reward of something that just kind of like bumps you along. And that's trail running, distance running, and like this whole adventure was always just like the next thing, right? Let's get
Oh yeah.
there. And if we make it, awesome. And if we don't, even better, right? Like,
Right. Well, and it
so,
was always interesting for me. So yeah, I was lucky enough to be on your crew a couple times. But one, it was always simultaneously exciting to be a part of it, because I felt like I was somehow accomplishing something, even though I didn't go on any of the training runs or didn't run a single mile with you. But it was interesting along the way to watch as like even between aid stations, you'd come into one aid station, you'd be in a really great mental place. Like it was unstoppable. And 6 miles later at the next aid station, it was like talking to a totally different Eric. You might be like down in the dumps and like something hurts in your calf and you're not sure if you're going to make it. And then we'd see you 7 miles later and you might be back up again. Uh, but even like, especially at night, when the thing that was obviously incredible, anybody who's listening to this, I mean, I don't know if others have ever run 100 miles, but for me, I can't even imagine it. So, like, imagining you out there for like 7 hours by yourself in the complete pitch black along the Hennepin Canal, like, yeah, of course you could get in a really deep, dark, depressed place. Those were the moments where I didn't understand that, like, how you were handling the mental battle. You know, even just like check mark to check mark. It was incredible watching that, and I kind of relating this back a little bit to the way other people reach their goals. It's hard for me to even set up a professional goal for 5 years because so much can change. Like, you have no idea if you'll even still be passionate about that in 5 years. So one, just setting out the goal, but then the way you were able to manage it in chunks and say, like, yeah, I mean, I'm not doing it tomorrow, but like, you changed your language, like, oh, I'm running 100 miles. It wasn't like, I'm trying or I'm seeing what I can do. Like, you really had to take the part. Those were the things that I witnessed. Did you pay attention to any of those things along the way, or did it just
Uh,
sort of happen for you?
I mean, it was definitely ups and downs, right? And I had like 6 months of injury in the middle of the build up, right? From just, I think, overuse and poor form, right? Just a learning injury. But when you're learning at 100 miles an hour,
Right.
yeah, you just make mistakes. So overuse, and then that was like a struggle, right? Because like it wasn't like I failed at my goal how I thought I would. Is this the end? Like, did I break? Or is this just like I need to figure out how to do it better?
Yeah.
So some of that, when I think of it long term in it, like there was low points, but it was never off the table, right? And I was lucky, right? Like uh, Laura and I were a newly married couple. We didn't have kids. We didn't have commitments, right? So I could focus all of my energy on doing something for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, the support piece, and you came to it. I want to go back and draw attention to the fact that, first of all, it was cool to see how you found different people and like identified what role that person played. Right? Like, in the races, Laura was the main person. She's like the go-to. She was invested emotionally with you because she was the one person that saw you literally day in and day out and saw the bloody socks or the shoe wear outs or whatever, right? But then you had like people that would help you by running with you and people that could help you in these other ways. You mentioned November Project. For those folks that don't know, which I think might be a lot of folks, can you talk a little bit about what November Project is and how that group kind of like how you found support in that group to kind of achieve this?
Yeah, November Project's a free fitness group. They're in, like, I think, around 50 cities worldwide, usually large metropolitan areas. But it's a free fitness group. They meet once or twice a week outdoors for some type of high intensity workout. It usually involves running, jumping, and taking advantage of the natural space in the cities where you live.
Yeah.
So in Minneapolis, Gold Medal Hill is like a 40-foot tall hill at a beautiful park downtown by the river. Right. But it's not just for looking nice. It's for you to run up and down it, whenever you want. So
Yeah.
finding spaces and doing that. And, you know, it's a free fitness thing. Nobody's bought into it. There's leaders, and they get a little bit of volunteer credit and rewards from some sponsors with the larger group, but it's mostly just people that want to play outside. It's
Yeah.
kind of like adult recess, is what we often said on the inside, right? You just get to go outside and do something fun. And in Minnesota, when it's winter and it's 20 below, and you can find a reason to go outside and have fun, it's like a snow day.
I
So,
don't need
but
a
these are
reason to
the,
go outside when it's 20 below, Eric. I mean, that's fine. I'm an
but
outside guy too, but
yeah,
yeah, but you did, and that's cool. And that's the group that you
yes.
found, and
So
that's the
you
connection.
find these people that want to be outdoors, and then, like, oh yeah, they are into trail running, and they're into distance running or road running or whatever. And so, for me, it was really just like building this connection of people that could help me reach my goal of running 100 miles, but also were like interesting people. And running, probably a lot like golf too, you're spending just a lot of time with people not really doing anything, right? If
Yep.
you're going on even just a 5 mile run with your friends, you know, if you're a speedy person, that could be an hour, but it's an hour where you're standing 3 feet away from two, three, four other people, right? So you get to connect, you get to talk, you get to chat. Start doing that 3, 4 times a month with the same people, right? You build
You're putting in
bonds
some
and
long hours. Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah, there
So
are
it's
times where I'm playing a lot of golf, or I'll come back and I'm like, wow, I've seen my friends on the golf course more than I've seen my wife lately because,
yep,
we'll spend 4.5 hours together in a golf round. So, yeah, it makes complete sense. The network you found was really cool. So, how do you relate all of this back to real life? Like, how do you take this? I mean, to me, it's like grit and determination, and like, how does this apply now to your real world, or what advice do you have for folks that maybe don't want to run 100 miles but they
man.
have their own goal?
I think you gotta know what you want, right? And I think that's hard. It sounds like the dumbest thing ever, right? But um, a day turns into a week, turns into 6 months, as a year, and if you're not driving yourself at something that excites you, it falls away. It doesn't become core and central to what you're doing. And finding that thing, it's going to change. It's hard, right? Like after I'd run 100 miles and I moved and I didn't have that connection anymore, then I was like, well, what am I going to do next? I got into cycling. I cycle across Iowa. I don't think cycling's for me, right? So I'm still kind of searching for an athletic goal, but it's just like, what is the thing that excites you? And I was talking to my wife, and I was like, you got to find something that you could be bad at and be new at, right? Because that's when you find out if you really like something. And I think in life it's important, especially as we're 40 this year, like, what are new things I can keep doing?
Yeah.
I got into disc golf recently. um, I guess I'm nerdy enough to say that out loud. It's similar. You get to go outside and hang out. It doesn't cost you any money except for a couple of frisbees.
Yeah.
Um, so like, yeah, find out what you want to do and be willing to abandon things, right? Like if you say like, oh, I definitely want to do this in 5 years because I think it's the coolest thing. And 2 years in, you're like, actually, this sucks.
This isn't
Fine.
this
Like,
isn't driving me like I thought it
but
would. Yeah.
but think of where you went, like, and what you learned and grew and changed. And like I think about it with kids now, as a father, as a parent, as a member of like a smaller community where you're not just an anonymous person, right? Going to the grocery store. Like, what are the things that you're doing? How are you growing in this space, and who can you bring with you? Right. I think that's for me what's most exciting right now is like growing community, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm in a new place. I don't have roots. Right. So how can I build that network, start finding those people? And then I don't know, you can find interesting stuff like independent wrestling or like dirt track auto racing. Like there's cool stuff all around.
Just go do cool stuff. Yeah.
Just go do it.
I love it. I love that idea of like, not only, I mean, I guess what I struggle with, there's sometimes where like I'll make a goal of where I want to be in 5 years, but then I'm not sure if like in year one, like, did I just quit on it early and convince myself I didn't want that because it was hard? So,
Yeah.
but I do think it's healthy to approach it and be like, hey, this is a goal, but like, I don't have to dictate my entire life around just because at one moment I thought something was a really good idea. Like if it still feels good and you're still challenging yourself, like keep going for it, which is what you did. Um, I mean, I think of Angela Duckworth's book on grit when I think of running 100 miles. Like nothing speaks to grit to me more than like just grinding away. But I don't know. That's pretty cool. I appreciate you sharing all this.
Yeah. Thanks.
Any other like lessons learned, or any other like advice for folks as they listen to this and maybe think about what their own goal might be or what they're chasing?
I was thinking about this. Someone said to me, or I overheard at the gym the other day, someone said, never miss a Monday. And I thought, man,
Yeah.
that's the dumbest thing ever. You know who never misses Mondays? People that say never miss a Monday, right?
Yeah.
Like that works for them, but like Mondays for me sucks. And so even though like this Monday's never miss a Monday, that's a thing, it's out there. You got to know yourself enough to say like, not for me, right? And grow, change, figure out your own way through the world.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate you sitting down and talking this through with me. I know folks are going to be excited to hear it. And it was great to kind of relive some of that because there were some parts of that that I forgot that you went through. So very cool. Thanks for joining me, Eric, and I will talk to you soon. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
All right, bye.
Thanks for joining us in the men's room. We hope that our conversations leave you feeling empowered, less alone, and ready to show up as a better husband, father, and friend. The men's room is proudly brought to you by Chad Henderson Coaching, your home for honest support, real-life coaching, and a community that gets it. If you're looking for more ways to grow, or if you're curious about how personal coaching can help you step up in life, head over to CoachChadHenderson.com. Until next time, take care of yourself and those around you, and remember, the door is always open here in the men's room.